Hey, welcome to the Thriving Minds podcast with your host, Walter Parada, where we strive to provide you with empowering talks so you can live to thrive. And today we'll be talking about setting your standards and following through. So a standard is a level of quality or attainment used as a measurement. It is something that a person or an organization is continuously striving to meet and uphold. Whether it's an individual or a team trying to meet a set of expectations that leads them to reaching the goals that they set for themselves with the whole purpose of maintaining high quality and consistency that leads to the results. It provides a clear understanding of what is required by those that choose to uphold that standard. It's one thing to know where you're going, and knowing how to get there is the other part that leads you there. Can you imagine trying to get to the destination you have in mind with no clue on how to get there? That standard that you set for yourself is a roadmap of how to get to that destination you're trying to reach. It's process-based, so you know what action needs to be taken. Falling short of the standard that is set jeopardizes the results that you're trying to produce. If you look at many highly successful people or organizations, they set a high standard for themselves that clearly defines the actions that they need to take. The things such as the amount of effort that they give each and every day and the consistency at which they operate allows them to get better and build upon the things that they've worked on. It tells them what is acceptable and what is not, so they know exactly what to focus on. Whether it's the daily process of upholding that standard, it gives an indication of the trajectory you're on, whether you get to the goals that you set for yourself. If you look at a company like Domino's Pizza, where they set the standard of guaranteeing 30-minute delivery for all orders placed within 30 minutes, this signals to the customers that they can count on the company to come through, and it further gains their trust that leads to increased returning customers. And for this to be done, everything in preparing, making, and delivering the food needs to be done in a consistently efficient manner. So that standard that they set for themselves, they know exactly what they're striving for each and every day. But when you have low standards or no standards at all, it's going to be reflected in the results that are produced. It can make it feel like you don't know where you stand, or uncertainty really starts to cloud your focus. And this can make it feel like you're just stuck in the situation you're in, becoming frustrated and confused about why things are not progressing as the way you might have hoped. But hope without a vision just leads to longing for something more, but not understanding how to make it happen. To be excellent at whatever you choose to do, set high standards, because that is what you will eventually get. Low standards will produce below average results because that is what will be accepted. But with high standards, it drives you to be better and do better in everything you do. The quality of our lives is a reflection of the standards that we set for ourselves. And while we may fall short of meeting them, it at least gives us something that we're constantly striving for. And the more consistently you can do that, the better quality of life you'll have. The benefits of setting standards for yourself, especially high ones, are that it removes the things weighing you down from your life. This is particularly true when it comes to people, as those that really want to be in your life will rise up to the standards that you have. It's almost like it serves as a filter of the things that pass through will be that of high quality. This does not mean that you're snobby or you feel like you're better than, but those standards help you recognize that your time is limited and is phasing out the things that are not serving you well. Why would you lower your standards to fit in? And in the end, it's going to save you so much time because you won't be messing around with mediocrity. In a case like this, it's almost like addition by subtraction, because you're removing those things that are holding you back, kind of like limitations. You're breaking free from it. It's also going to improve your confidence because you know the things that you're continuously striving for. And when you know this, it gives you a clear understanding of what you're ultimately working towards. This gives you a sense of purpose that drives you to operate with a higher sense of conviction and direction of where your life is going. It makes you pick up the pace that gives you a greater urgency to do more. And the more you do, the more confidence you'll gain because you'll reflect and see the consistent effort that you put in. Eventually, this leads to major breakthroughs that builds on so many of the accomplishments. So it's not all about achieving what's at the end of the journey, but it's everything that comes along with it. Because with each step you take, the more confidence you gain that strengthens who you are and what you can do. Your satisfaction will come from growth that continues to push you for the next thing that stretches you beyond your limits. And eventually, your goals will become a lot clearer because you have a set way of how you do things. This set way accustoms you to focusing on the details that are going to make all the difference. So, as opposed to having general goals, you'll be more dialed into specifics of what you're aiming for. You know, a very general goal is, I want to lose weight and live healthy. Well, that can mean so many different things. But having a standard for myself will take it a step further by saying, I want to lose 24 pounds in 12 weeks, losing approximately 2 pounds a week by eating well-balanced meals that includes lots of fruits and vegetables and averaging about 1,600 calories per day, exercising 40 minutes, 5 days a week. These specific details are a standard that you or I would set for myself to ensure we reach what the ultimate goal is. And when you can do this, this elevates your drive to do things with excellence because you set milestones along the way that are clearly defined. By having those clear expectations, I know exactly what I need to do and what I need to avoid to stay on track to losing those 2 pounds a week. It's almost like a step-by-step method on how to get the results you're striving for. You map out your plan and execute on it, making you happy to see how things play out. Another thing that having a standard gives you is it makes you more accountable to yourself. So those defined metrics that you put in place helps you to operate within a framework so you remain on track. And if you fall outside of that framework, it becomes a lot more obvious that you're not doing what you set out to do, and you'll be more willing to self-police and correct it. And one thing's for sure, having a standard for yourself and upholding it right away starts to make you more accountable. Accountability can lead you to take initiative that will ascend you into new heights. It's like you're breaking free from someone needing to hold your hand to be your own person and setting things that you need to get done. And when you're able to operate with this sort of autonomy, everything around you seems like it's at your disposal because too many people are just sitting on the sidelines waiting for things to come to them. It can make you feel like you're flying when you once were just walking to your destination. Because that standard removes the things weighing you down from your life, it will attract people who align with what you're striving for because they'll see that you hold yourself and others to it. And this is going to make you stronger as it's going to build momentum in the direction that you're working towards. It's going to help you all come together and hold each other accountable for the better. Through being united for a common cause, you form strong bonds that gives you a greater sense of community. Knowing that you have people in your corner creates an atmosphere of excellence that can rub off onto others. And this can have a ripple effect that furthers the vision and the goals that you all share. What is gained is collaboration and camaraderie that can yield truly spectacular results. If you think of yourself and others as individual fingers on your hand, coming together has the opportunity to make a fist and knock things out. So together, you can get more accomplished that's going to spring you forward by leaps and bounds as opposed to just individually moving in the same direction. But before you start to set the standard for yourself, first come to understand yourself by knowing your behaviors. Understanding the things that motivate you and the things that are off-putting are going to help you figure out the things that you're striving for. What's great about all these high-performing individuals and organizations is that they all have different standards that work for them. They're very specific to the things that they're trying to accomplish. While it's extremely difficult to try to be the best at every single category, we all can specifically do certain things with extreme precision and accuracy when we know what our target is. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and when we can come to understand what they are, we can better leverage the skills we have and manage some of our deficiencies to work for us. So by understanding yourself more, you find what standard specifically is going to work for you. Another thing to really come to understand is how much respect you have for yourself. This is going to be really key when it comes to upholding that standard, especially during those tough times. We all are going to experience disagreements and different viewpoints amongst each other, and it's going to be really important to stand by your values through your words and actions. The more you're able to stand by them, the more respect you have for yourself. And when it comes to those times of disagreements with others, you can respectfully be yourself in opposition that clearly defines where you stand, and know that it's okay to walk away, as there's no need to try to prove how much strength you have to others. The more self-control you have, the better you can navigate through some of these unsettling situations. Conforming to others is just going to make it really difficult to know and create your own standards. Hopefully the goal is to create the life you want, and that comes from defining what is most important to you. Another thing to come to understand about yourself is know what you want by identifying what you like, your interests, beliefs, your ideals, goals, and your dreams. These are just great starting points to think about to find what you want to work towards. If you get excited about the things you're focused on, then the process will be that much more enjoyable. There's so many avenues you can take. You just have to give it some thought. Something to have in mind is, what are the things that you need to experience in your life that is going to make it that much more memorable? Knowing what you would like to happen in your life can give you an idea of the things that you envision. A great exercise to come to find out what that is just let your thoughts flow by doing a voice recording of the things that you're pondering, and then play it back. That way you can give yourself time to let it sink in and evaluate what's going on. Or maybe you write it out and then you review it at a later time. This is going to help you gain some perspective to really think about beyond just right now and tomorrow, but years down the line. Or maybe even ask somebody who knows you very well. Ask them what they hear you talk about a lot, because sometimes we're unaware of what that is. Their perspective can give you an outside look of where your attention might be going. Giving yourself the time to do this allows you to take a step back to see the vast opportunities all around you. If you have so many different thoughts going through your mind and not sure what really to pursue, just go ahead and pick one and start doing it. And if you come to find out you don't like it, you can always try something else. But at least the more you try, the more you come to really figure out if that's something you want to go ahead with. And you can take certain aspects of it to figure out how you're going to incorporate that into the standard you set for yourself. There once was a time where I ran cross country where I was only focused on the outcome of what it could do for me, that it could increase my endurance and possibly get me faster. And after doing it, I figured, I don't enjoy this. But what I did gain from it was the need to push myself when things got hard. And that's something I always wanted to incorporate going forward. I would not just quit because it was hard, but I would move on to something else if I didn't enjoy it. So whatever it is, just try. There's no rush in needing to figure out exactly right now what your standard should be. Take different pieces from the experiences you gain and see what you will apply going forward. Saying yes to new things can open up a new world of opportunity that is going to expand your horizons. What you want to avoid is overthinking to the point of not doing anything. This only creates more uncertainty that's going to make it difficult for you to know the things that you're trying to strive for. I can remember when I was still studying to be in the agriculture field, and an opportunity came up to work in turf grass with the Miami Dolphins as one of the grounds crew members. While this isn't technically what I really wanted to do, I thought I'd give it a try. It's going to be a new experience and I can gain valuable knowledge from this. And in that experience, I gained some very valuable information that I would later apply to the standards that I would set for myself. What I was exposed to was a high level of professionalism because the grass was a reflection on the groundskeeping crew. So everything that they did was in a measured and methodical way. So things like carefully watering the grass to the right amount, mowing the grass in specific ways to give different shades of reflections every exactly 10 yards, putting a tarp over the grass if there was excessive rain, but not leaving the tarp on too long because it could cause the grass to turn yellow, or how accurate it was when they painted the lines for the field. While I didn't end up in turf grass, it was a good learning opportunity because I applied those principles of professionalism as a standard for what I wanted to do in everything going forward. So trying these different things are going to help you clearly see what you want. And then once you can start to do that, you can begin to define your standard. One of the first things to set is attitude. This might seem like it's unnecessary, but if you don't, emotions can take over that are going to dictate your actions. So by being able to set the specific attitude that you're striving for, it's going to help hone in your thinking. An example could be focusing on what can be done instead of what can't, or focusing on the things within your control and not worry about what you can't affect. This helps you to reframe your thinking to empower you as opposed to all the things that can go wrong, because that's just going to make you feel helpless. So knowing that type of attitude you want makes you more aware of the attitude you currently have so you can work to close a gap between the two. Being unaware of the two will make it difficult to get a handle on things to work for you, and instead you'll be more prone to reacting to situations, not being able to anticipate problems that arise that could have been handled well or could have been avoided. So once you can set that attitude you're striving for, then set the behaviors you want to incorporate, because eventually they're going to become your habits. So when things go wrong, have a preset way of how you're going to behave when that comes about. A common thing that happens when things don't go according to plan is getting angry, frustrated, and looking to blame for why things happen. And you can condition yourself to behave a certain way by delaying reacting, such as taking a walk to clear your head, or taking deep, profound breaths to help you get in a more level state of thinking. This is going to help you override that default mode of going into negativity. It's almost like you're funneling that excess energy to work with the current of the stream, being nimble and adaptable instead of fighting the resistance of it. And just know we're all going to have different degrees of standards that vary quite a bit, or it'll vary just slightly. But some helpful things to incorporate into defining your standards is being early to appointments and meetings, being prepared, being properly dressed, taking care of your health. These types of things set the tone for how you go about your everyday life. And it's going to attract the right type of people that you ultimately want to be around. The more you take these types of things seriously, the more you'll take yourself seriously as well. And this is going to have a ripple effect to the things that you say. So when you tell yourself you're going to do something, it means you're going to do it because you take yourself seriously enough to get it done. So whatever you define your standard as, write it down, place it somewhere where you can see it on a consistent basis, because eventually you embed it into your mind and that's going to become your default mode. It'll become so second nature, you don't even think about it. It's just something that you do. So having specifics of what you're upholding is vital to setting an effective standard. If not, it's going to be hard to determine where you draw the line and if you're meeting your expectations. So if you say you want to be the hardest working person around, it'll be subjective based on your viewpoint. But if you set a standard of being a hard-working person by putting in 70 hours a week, so you clearly define if you're meeting that expectations or not. Once you know what your standards are, it becomes about upholding them, continuously striving for what they represent. An example of this might be to give your best effort each and every day, because if you do anything, you might as well do it wholeheartedly. If you think about a restaurant where they get a health inspection report, well, for one, it's mandatory so they can continue to operate, but it also signals to the customers the quality and cleanliness of their establishment. And this is vital to their business. Obviously, the higher the grade, the greater confidence customers have in eating there. But the lower the grade, the less confidence customers have in wanting to eat there. And if it's low enough, it can mean ceasing to operate because the health code violations can cause harm to the general public. So in cases like this, it's going to be very crucial to operate at a very high standard, like keeping everything as clean as possible, things such as the silverware, the kitchen, the food, and staff members just being hygienic in their daily operations. These restaurants want to make sure that they do all the right things to retain the customer's trust, because once it's lost, it's very difficult to regain it back. These restaurants want to make sure that they do all the right things to retain the customer's trust, because once it's lost, it's very difficult to regain it back, because there's always going to be the stigma of, well, they had that health code violation once. If that happened, it could happen again. So view the standards that you set for yourself in the same type of manner, where you're consistently striving to earn your own trust. The more that you can uphold that standard, the more you can continue to trust yourself even further. And yes, there'll be slip up at times, but you got to make sure to correct it before it gets out of hand. It can be far too easy to become complacent and just let things go. The higher the standard, the more work required to keep it up, but it's going to be well worth it. You're ensuring that the process is being done in an excellent manner to produce those same types of results. Have a routine that you can get into to make sure you're continuously doing all the small things right. And yes, at times it can be a pain or annoying to get it done, but what's the cost of a few minutes here and a few minutes there to make sure things are done properly? Is eating that little bit of kale really that bad for you if it means maintaining your health? It might not be the tastiest of foods, but it's helping you ensure you have a good quality of life. And over time, you're going to see the results that are going to make you proud of the effort that you put forward. Reflecting on what you've done can help you draw strength going forward to continue to do things in an excellent manner. Almost like compound interest, where in the short term, it might not seem like a lot has been built up, but over the long term, what you gain has been so substantial that you might wonder, what was all the fuss about in the beginning when it yielded such big results? There may come a time where you're going to struggle with the standards that you set. And sometimes what causes this is lack of focus, forgetting the details that matter and thinking it will all just be automatic. That muscle memory of what you once had can lose some of that prime, that spring that was so effective. And to get back on track, sometimes you need to just refocus, almost starting from ground zero and working your way back up, going through some sort of checklist to make sure all the steps are being taken care of properly. If you look at a profession like an airplane pilot, they have many intricacies that go along with getting ready to take off, which includes a lot of their prep work and then the actual taking off, flying, and landing. But to help ensure all these steps are properly done, each and every time, they actually have a checklist that they go through to make sure they're at their best. If not, it can prove costly. So while the standard you hold may or may not have the same type of effects of an airplane pilot, operating in this same type of manner helps ensure things are running smoothly. Some signs to watch out for that might indicate struggling to meet the standard is if you think you have it down packed, no questions asked, or if you're taking shortcuts, or if you think it's always worked well for me in the past and resting on that. And maybe you've already experienced struggling upholding those standards, and it's difficult to get back on track at times. This can cause confidence to be lost in what you worked up to. To help overcome this, evaluate if that standard still suits what you're doing, because over time you'll notice your interest and drive might change. So you got to know how to tailor what you're doing to fit your current needs. Just know that we all go through periods of slumps where we're trying to get that momentum back on our side, but just really take the time to see things that are blocking that attention needed to sustain what you once did. The easy thing would be to give up and throw it out, but work through it to find a solution to get back on track. Because if you don't, complacency will overtake you and eventually leave you unsatisfied. Having a standard and consistently following through on it is going to help you live further empowered, because it gives you a sense of direction and drive that channels your energy for a cause of excellence. And when you can see the progress that you made, you gain overall satisfaction on how well you're living your life. That helps you enjoy the process of what you're doing, and it's not just about the end result. You get what you're striving for, which is set by your expectations, and the higher they are, the more room for possibilities you have. Just remember, as you're starting off, be realistic with what you set for yourself and gradually work your way up to a higher standard. Too high, too quickly can discourage you from wanting to continuously strive for more. So when you feel that you're meeting your expectations too easily, increase it to challenge yourself, and you'll eventually rise up to meet it. Make your standards specific that measures process-based actions, and it's going to lead to substantial results consistently. Most of all, enjoy what you do. I hope you all enjoy this podcast. If you're interested in more topics like this, become a Thriving Minds member at thrivingminds.live. All right, until next time.